We are ready to take off, and everything is connected, and we are now slowly but surely launching, and soon we will be in orbit. Speaking of orbit, I have not tapped into the International Space Station, but let's see if it's here right now. Because is it still there? No, I have to come back to it later, so I won't worry about that for now. I'll bring it back a little bit later. But it's always good to start with a little bit of a view from 430 kilometers or so directly above us is a lot of just empty, cold space. But around this time of day, the International Space Station will drift over this part of the world, um, and moving at a velocity of how many kilometers per hour again? Something like 20 27,000, or is that a little bit high? At any rate, I don't want to say anything that's incorrect. Facts are important, so I'm just going to stick to what I know right now, which is we have 3 classes left, including today. And as you know, there has been a slight change in the way the content is being delivered, at least the lecture content. And I just want to make sure you're clear on what has happened over the last days. I posted talks in the DC Connect folder for you to watch. And so I want to make sure that everybody is on track with that part of the rest of the semester because there is a lot of content still to come. And I want to make sure that you have plenty of time to reflect on it. And I also want to make sure we have good time for conversation and debate in here. So I decided that for the last 3 classes, particularly since we fell behind last week, there was a Good Friday, and we were falling behind already. I have posted A Greater World, The Conquest, Freedom's Power, Humanity's Stain, and the 20th Century. All of those chapters in the story are posted for you as recorded lectures that I did in this room during the pandemic, most of them with me wearing a mask. And so you will get a lot of really, really good content. I'm not going to give a lecture today. I'm assuming that you're watching these lectures, but something tells me just by a quick little scan of the faces here right now that there is a kind of gut wrenching reality I have to face now, which is that probably nobody is doing that. However, I'm going to ask the one person in this class who is always on top of the content, even though we may see things differently, and he has always remained open to listening and debating. Mr. Bagg, Stephen, have you watched any of the recorded lectures?
Like the recorded, like the ones of this class?
Yes, that I posted for you.
I've rewatched some of, like, I think one last week when I was doing the reflection just so I could.
Sure. But
Yeah.
not, for example, let me rewind because this does tell me something. I'm
When
hearing
did
it
you
all.
post them?
um, o- on the weekend, last weekend, and there was an announcement on DC Connect. And essentially, I think that basically we're going to have to go back to a little bit of just foundational stuff here. For everybody watching the recording, uh, it is possible that for my God, about 90 other students in this class who are watching the recordings, because there are in 2 sections of short history of the world, there are something like 100 students registered in this course. But what we see in this room are essentially the super motivated, super interested students, including Stephen, who comes in online, and others. But anybody who shows up online or in class for the live class doesn't have to be here. It's purely optional. So I know you want to be here and you want to be here for the conversation, and that's great. But for those watching the recordings, the majority of the class, you may be on top of that. But I'm going to make an announcement for everybody right now, okay? So it's for all of the different classmates who join our community, the in-person students right in front of me, the live synchronous students, Stephen and Brandon, and then all the rest of you. An announcement was posted on DC Connect, I think about 5 or 6 days ago. And I can show it to you to make sure everybody's clear. And let's work from that, okay? Because the headline essentially is that all the rest of the content for the rest of the semester has been given to you on DC Connect as recorded lectures that you're supposed to watch. And that was given as instructions for you as well on DC Connect. And what I'm learning right now is that those recorded lectures, A Greater World, The Conquest, Freedom's Power, Humanity's Stain, and the 20th Century, I'm pretty sure, after just checking in with, one of our best, most motivated students, Stephen, I'm learning that nobody here or nobody live is even aware of them right now. So it's not my job to get angry with my students. That's I get angry at other things in my life. I want to make sure you're inspired and motivated. So all I'm going to say is you should know about this announcement and you should know about these talks. Okay? But I'm going to bring them up on DC Connect just for you on behind me in a moment. And for all the students watching the recordings as well, it's very likely that you also have not done any of the work yet. And the reason this concerns me, as opposed to any other feeling I might have, I'm just going to put that aside, is because you have a final assignment coming. It's your biggest reflection of the semester. It's a real big essay, with research and reflection. And I'm expecting to see course content in there, meaning that you would be making reference to the content in some of those talks. So if you're not, that's going to affect your final mark for your final assignment. And then that's going to affect your final grade. So ultimately, I want to make sure you get a good grade and do the work. So, okay, before I go to that page and make sure that we're all clear about this, does anybody have any questions? John and Stephen as well, jump in, but let's go with John. And John, grab a mic, okay, and make sure. And you can always come up and sit on the high chair if you like, but we're not at that point in the class yet. But go ahead, John.
It's just going to be about the content that you've posted for weeks 12, 13, 14 that we're looking at.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Pretty much it.
No more? I was waiting for having a good chat.
That'll happen.
Okay, great, John.
That'll happen a lot.
Yeah. All right. So good. Then everything is in the folder, which I'm about to show you after Mayreen comes up and gives an update on our expo plan and the club and the alliance. And but everything is in that folder called classes 12, 13, and 14. And the announcement on DC Connect is final 3 classes 12, 13, and 14. And actually, just to make things go more smoothly and quickly, I'm not going to go and get that page for you. I can describe it to you, and then I can get Mayreen up here quickly, and we can move on. But essentially, after Mayreen has given her update, then I'm going to talk about those recorded lectures. And then we can have a conversation. Come on in. And I think I'm also getting a sense of how busy you probably are right now. with your work and the final stretch, because the fact that Sarah is not here and she's not even online is also a real indication of how busy everybody is. And Miriam too. Well, Miriam comes, off and on, but Sarah, is the one who's really taken on the job of organizing the Global Class Alliance, the club. She's been working and doing some really excellent work. So, you know, I think that probably a lot of you are pretty stressed right now with other things. So I will help you with those talks afterwards, and then we'll have a conversation, and then we may keep this. Hey, Stefan. Yeah, it's just that. Yeah, thanks a lot. Okay. So great. So John's asked a question. Anything else? Otherwise, what's your name again? It's Craig. Is it Craig Diamond? Yeah, come on. Would you be able to come and sit in the circle? Come and sit here and give an update. And by way of introducing Mayreen again in her update for everything that we're doing, I just wanted to let you know about something that's really exciting for me as your professor, and for Mayreen and others who are part of this sort of growing club or team as we're moving towards a plan for presenting the global classroom at the World Expo in Japan in 2025. We've had to do a lot of thinking over the last days as we've been revising. Great, Stefan, thanks a lot. We've been revising the plan for Expo based on the notes that the committee in Japan sent to us. And it's really forced us to think about exactly what is special and different and important about the global classroom that we want to be presenting to a worldwide audience in Japan in 2025. They understand what we're doing, they like it, but they also have said, what's your goal, and what exactly do you want people to be doing after you've made your presentation? To be people from all over the world and some pretty important people. So we've been having these ongoing conversations, Mayreen and I, about what is it that's really special about this experiment in education. And I'd like to ask your opinions about this as we have an update from Mayreen. In a moment, I will tell you what some of our conclusions are starting to be based on what other students are saying in conversations and in their reflections. But I'd like to hear from you. I'd certainly like to hear from Stephen and Brandon, but we'll wait until Mayreen has given her update, okay? So let's spend a little time talking about that, and then we're going to get into the content. Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. So in terms of an update, we've officially been registered as the Global Class Alliance. And I think yesterday, Sarah was able to create a Discord channel. That's how we're gonna kind of collaborate, meet up with students, and share information. So if anybody wants to join, be a part of the Global Class Alliance, I have the details, so you can talk to me after class or whenever we have a little short break, and I can add you to the group. And we're hoping next week, if any students are free and on campus, to do like a little promotion of the club in the pit or in the south wing. We'll set up a table and just talk to students about what we are as a club, and about the expo and what we're hoping, like we're planning for the future of the club and the global classroom. And yeah, that's about.
Great. Okay. Thanks. So we have very much a point person now officially, Mayreen, who is overseeing this. And then there's, of course, Sarah, who has volunteered to be a co-president of the club, as well as Ryan Wiggins from our global leader class on Wednesday mornings. So let me just have a little conversation with all of you about this thing that we're doing in this room. And I've spent a lot of time over the last 10, 12 years at the college building this. It started as sort of Skype classes, and then has grown out of the old wing into this room and this center. So there's a lot of support that the college has and resources that they're putting behind the growth of this. The question is, what exactly is working so well in this that students are interested, the college is putting resources behind it. We've been able to get Mayreen on board as a paid position as a coordinator. And I have an idea, but I'd like to hear from you, okay? And let me just say that everything that you say right now to me and Mayreen is really important because everything that we're doing with the growth of this experiment in education is about you. It's about young people. It's about the future. It's about the human mind for all young people at an extremely volatile, complex, and potentially dangerous moment in human history when you look around you and there's some very big problems in the world that affect us all now, wherever they happen. So it's really important that education gets better. And I'm committed to that passionately, as Mayreen is and others are. But I need to hear from you critically, okay? It's very simple. Why do you come into this space optionally when you don't have to be here? Stephen, Brandon, why do you come into this space live when you don't have to be here? The large majority of the class is doing what I expected. They're tuning into this like a television show, which is great. They're watching the recordings, they're writing reflections, some great reflections, and they really love the flexibility of watching the recordings. But there's something going on, something special with why you come in live for this, and it's completely optional. So I'd like to ask you, why? And I'd like you to tell us, me and Mayreen, and we're making notes. And this will go into our rewrite for Japan so that when we come there in April of 2025, and we are hopefully there as a permanent presence for several months in Japan as one of the key best practices presentations with 160 or 70 other countries with their own really cool design pavilions. It's like the Olympics of science and engineering and technology. This is where the Eiffel Tower was first, displayed in the early part of the 20th century. This is where Nikola Tesla and others who had created new technology and engineering. This is where history is made. This is not small stuff. And I believe with your interest and your contribution that we are going to make history in education. I've been teaching history for a long time. And I guess, reached a point where I'd like to start making history than talking about it all the time. I think I'm ready. And I think I'm ready because I see young people today who want something better. But the question is, what is this better thing? And I think something is happening here, but I need to hear more from you, okay? So if nothing is happening and you're coming here optionally because you just want a higher mark, well, great. But that's not going to happen. Your marks depend on what you do in your reflections ultimately, like everybody else who are watching the recordings. So to break the news to you, coming live is not going to make me think when I start issuing the final grade, oh, that student didn't deliver 2 reflections, but they sat here live. Great, they're going to get a good grade. Ain't going to happen. Everybody is getting the same marks for their reflections. That's why the reflections are critical. But something is happening in this because I've seen this in other classes I teach here with the students coming live. So what is it? Okay, who feels good? So Stephen's already started. Stephen, could you jump on your microphone and read what you've written? And we're going to talk for about 10 or 15 minutes because this is really important we're now talking about making history, not just talking about things that happened. History is about the future. It's about the people who shape the future. And well, maybe I should just make reference to everybody who knows Alexander the Great. Not somebody I have huge admiration for, but everybody knows him. And he said, apparently, that nothing is impossible to he who tries. Now, apparently, that's attributed to Alexander the Great. I say that because none of you may have ever thought that you can make history. Maybe you just think history is something you study about other so-called great people and great events and great things. Well, maybe you're great. You ever thought about that? Maybe if you care enough, it's in you. So I think we're going to make history, but we're going to do it here and we're going to do it based. So Stephen, go ahead and just tell us, what is it that makes you come optionally live?
I like engaging in discourse with people of an opposing worldview.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And even when you're challenged and you know you like that sense of opposition, it doesn't bother you?
No.
Huh. Why not?
Well, because I'm right. And if I can explain why I'm right, then I'm going to win.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I'm going to let that pass for a moment. I'm not going to take him on about that. Of course, I would say right now that just for the sake of planting a little seed that might, like a little explosive device, I'm going to put it in front of Stephen and it might blow up in his face if he steps on it. Stephen, you're not right. But we can help you understand that and open you to that, because I'm going to take what you just said as comedy. Did you mean it as a joke?
No, I'm not joking.
Okay. Well, then
The reason why I haven't fully explained my points is because there's not enough time in each of these classes to, sort of like let you guys see things the way I see them. If that makes sense.
I think we have an idea already, because I want to tell you that in the reflections, I will not name any students. I have been getting just a little bit of heat from students saying, could you stop that person and move on? Because I cannot stand the intolerance, the religious extremism, and the inability to listen to others. And this person is really slowing the class down. And I have to tell these students, no, he isn't. I love students like this.
They're
But
complaining about my religious extremism.
your intolerance. Yeah.
How have I been intolerant?
What's that?
How have I been intolerant?
They're sensing it. And I think you just confirmed it by saying you're right. And I thought you were joking. But actually, you
Well-
aren't. So that to me only confirms it, that you have some growing up to do, in my estimation. But at the same time, I very much respect what you've been writing in your reflections. That's why you have a high mark. And I love the way you come in and you're prepared to listen to opposing views. And I'm giving him some fairly sharp criticism now, not as sharp as I could. And he's not leaving the class. I respect that. A lot of students won't do that. They'll just get up and leave. Absolutely. But he comes in and he knows. And so, and okay, so I'm going to move on from Stephen for the moment. But Stephen, you will stay with us, right? I know you will, because you have that sense of courage and conviction. I just think that it's time that you broaden that now into something larger, and you're prepared. You're prepared to see that the world is bigger than you think it is, and the box that was created to you by your religion may actually be a box with many open sides now. but I'll let that sit for a moment, okay? Okay, so let's hear some more from you. Stephen is saying that he likes this because he can come into a space and have a discussion or a discourse with people of opposing worldviews. So that doesn't happen in other classes? No, John? I mean, Stephen, don't you have that opportunity to do this, or did you not have this opportunity to do this in other classes in your long career as a student? Mm, okay.
Not often.
Not often. Well, there we go. Number one, this is coming up a lot. Students are very hungry for a real conversation. I thought when we started building the global class 13, 14 years ago, when we were way ahead of everybody else doing Skype and bringing different people from around the world in and having classes from different countries interacting. We'd have a class up on, well, it was a smaller board. You know, there'd be Ireland, there would be Colombia, we would have Bangladesh, we would have Russia, we'd have all of this interaction. And it seemed to be so cool that everybody could be talking live about the human story. But then the pandemic hit. And then everybody started video conferencing. And then there was nothing really that special anymore about having, you know, this kind of video conference with the world in a classroom. And then we built this. And then something started to happen with this semicircle, this conversation. And students started to say, just like Stephen is saying, the discourse, the conversation. So that's the first thing Mayreen and I are starting to think. That we want to be able to say to the world, we've created a space where students can come in a safe space, led by an experienced, passionate educator who forces interaction, who pushes us to interact. And in that interaction, it's really interesting. I get to hear what other students say, and I get to talk about big things, and I even get to say things that students are uncomfortable about because the educator respects diverse views. So I'm just curious if what Stephen is saying is something you agree with, that the secret sauce of what's bringing people back is not the tech, it's not the big board so much, it's not the recorded classes so much, all in high definition, all on YouTube, that nobody in the world does out of any classroom. That kind of quality. But it's really ultimately this interaction with the live and with the live online. Would you agree, John? Yes or yeah? Yeah, definitely. Okay, Nico, grab a mic. Would you agree? Well, you got to follow. Okay, we'll come back to Brandon. Would you say that why you come here optionally each Friday?
Oh yeah, totally. I could have just gone home.
So why are you here? You don't have to be here.
I think it's a fun environment, like where you can actually like speak your opinion or belief and do it freely. And you're not gonna get like, what's the word? Like personally judged about it.
Sure.
Um,
And do you think you learn better that way?
Well, personally, like during the like pandemic, I was never a fan of like classes online and I didn't learn as much. I'm more of a physical in-person learner, so it's much easier when I'm also here.
Sure. Great.
No.
Can you pass it to Meet? I'm curious to see what Meet has to say. And Craig, you'll be ready to say something about this, okay? And any, if you want to, okay? And then we'll come back, and then we're going to move on to content. But let's give Meet a chance, and then we'll come back. Yeah, we'll go around. Okay, go ahead.
Why I come here? Uh, just to hear the opinions and beliefs of other, what they are thinking in their life, what their viewpoint in a different problems which is ongoing in the world.
About the world. It's about human story. It's about
Yeah,
the whole big planet that we're all part of.
I'm just curious about that things and what others are thinking about the thing which is going in the world, the serious things, the wars is going on, 2 wars already.
Yes.
About the elections are coming right now all over the world.
The discussion.
Yeah, the discussions.
And do you prefer to be in person, seeing this
Yeah.
human being? You know,
I prefer more.
dimensions. There's flesh here. There's blood. This is like not, you know, one dimension frozen person in front of Zoom box. You know, Zoom square. Okay, do you know how stressful that is to sit in front of a square and not move, no reaction while you're having a meeting? Drives people crazy.
In
Back in person.
Zoom call, the concentration is zero. You will get distracted with everything what's ongoing around you. But here, the only thing will be going the difference of opinion and everything, so it will not distract you.
Just I'll go around, then we'll go back and forth. I just want to give everyone a chance. Craig, because we're really listening closely because we have to revise this, and I think something's happening. It's special here. Craig?
I think, like in an age of so many algorithms making you only see one view, is kind of, it's nice to actually like have a conversation and see it. And personally, like I have a class at 12, so I have to leave, but I have like a lot of public speaking anxiety, so it's like a good place to work on that.
Yeah. Communication skills. That's part of the plan. It's part of the course learning objectives. Essential employability skills that's in the outline. Craig, can I ask you, do you watch the recordings too?
Oh yeah, I've seen all of them.
And how is the fact that a recording on YouTube in high definition of what took place here, the fact that it's available to you, does that enrich your learning experience?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
It's helping. Okay, do you want anything you want to add today? Yeah.
So why I like to show up like on campus, it's just because like when I'm on campus, there's a lot more things that I can do than rather when I'd be like at home. And then also just like in a classroom environment, I feel more aware of like what's going on rather when say I'm at home. I'm just
Yeah.
online, like probably also doing like other things like listening to music at
Yeah.
the same time. And what I find interesting with here is obviously you've got more experience here, like all this tech
Yes.
being broadcast and all that. And then the discussion, like you get to view like different perspectives on things. And though with me, I don't really interact that much just because I'm introverted.
Yes.
So but something like I aim to work on is just opening up. Like during the summer, I am just attending a convention and I plan to do like 2 panels at that convention. So
Great.
just some public speaking stuff. So be nice to do.
Absolutely. Thanks for those words. You know, it really helps to hear your position on that. And the fact that you've even shared with us something that you're working on personally means that I think as you're speaking, you're also getting stronger. And that's what we're all here to do. Way to go. Okay. Let's hear.
For me, I found this interesting because no one here gets judged by their opinion. So you can just talk how you feel like without being judged, and you won't be reprimanded from that.
Do you feel that, for example, what I just said to Stephen was a judgment, or was it more of a kind of, I'm just trying to move him and open him up, or do you feel that maybe I judged him?
No, I say you're moving and trying to make them
Good.
open up.
It's a very hard line to walk as an educator, that I'm trying to push, but not trying to harm or disrespect in any way, but just open, see different perspectives. That's all. So it's a tough line to walk. Sometimes I go over the line, but I've got experience now, so I try. Stephen, did you feel you were judged at that moment when I said, I think you need to open yourself and grow up a little bit?
The growing up part, I think, was like a tad bit judgmental because
Yeah.
I think it's just like my mentality. I don't know if you think I have the mentality of a child or not, but I don't.
No, I don't think
So
you do at all, not as a child, but I do think that well, I think you do need to step back and see things in a broader perspective. That's all. But
I can see things from another perspective, but I I see things from my own perspective first, and that means basically like a Christian perspective,
yep.
and
You
I don't
didn't
know.
feel disrespected. You did not feel that I disrespected you by pushing you a little bit and saying, I think you
I
need to
don't
open up. No?
I don't feel disrespected at all, but I
Good.
also have no problem with being judged at all. You can
Yeah.
judge me if you want to.
No, I
I
don't.
judge other people.
Yep.
Um,
I will let your religion or all of our religions doing the judging. And that's what our religions often do. And I'm not speaking of yours. I'm speaking of mine. I'm speaking of Mayrene's. I'm speaking of Nico's fathers and others, whether you're Buddhist, Christian, Muslim, Jew, and, you just go on. It's my view. There's just too much fear. But that's my position. That's just me. Okay. John?
I think the main reason why I came into this class was because, one of the things I've really found interesting since joining it is, like, I've been able to connect so many of the lessons from the past that we've gone through to what I'm seeing today around the world. Not with what's going on in it, but just like what you see in everyday life. You know, the amount of where we're all coming from and the religions and stuff, and then seeing how many people practice it today. 2.5 billion Christians, 2
Yes.
billion almost people who practice Islam.
Yep.
Judaism,
Islam is close behind.
Judaism's pretty small, but like there are other, there's so many, and just seeing all of it today, and so it's about connecting today and the past together that really interested me.
That's good. Thanks, John. Nico, did you want to say something? Yeah, go ahead. Yep, turn it on. Made
I was just saying, like, sometimes, like, when it comes to like like this class is next I have to come to, like, personally, sometimes I find excitement. Sometimes.
it's exciting.
Yeah.
What's exciting?
Well, it's always like the talks. Like, I've always liked history and
Yeah.
stuff. Like, I didn't really learn much history as well because, like, when I was in high school, they only taught me about World War II
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But like, this is when I'm actually like starting to learn some history. And then all like the talks and get-togethers, like, I find that
Yeah.
exciting.
It's interesting. None of you mentioned tech in any way. Like ultimately, what's bringing you here is it's people that you meet and you talk with, and you have a good conversation that is guided by someone who's knowledgeable. But ultimately, you get to meet others and listen to others. Well, I think this is just confirming what we've been hearing. Maureen and I have been hearing. I want to come finally to Brandon because this is also part of the class, is how we interact with the online live cosmos. And Brandon, you have said your opinions and beliefs don't make you right. Can you jump on your microphone and explain a bit more about what brings you, for example, today to this live class, even though you don't have to be here? Let's see. Are you there, Brandon? Is Planet Brandon? See, this is what sometimes happens. We won't get too slowed down by the cosmos. We'll come back here. I don't have a mic, but it just works better. Okay, so Brandon, could you do me a favor and just take some time? We'll move on with the in-person class here right now, but could you, in the live chat, just write down your thoughts on why you come here to a live class when you don't have to? That's all, okay? Take a few minutes. We're gonna move on, and we'll come back and review what's in the live chat. Okay, so I think we have enough in terms of understanding a little bit more about this, and I'm feeling a lot more clear on what we need to focus on for the rewrite about the interaction and all of that. I'm also really gratified to hear young people say that they want to be with other people in person. I am concerned about the level of technology that is embedded in all of our lives today. I think it can be an incredibly powerful force in terms of how we use that technology. Stan Lee, the great creator of Marvel Comics, you know, and some of the great superheroes, and a real powerful creative force, has spoken about this idea called Excelsior, which I love to come back to. Does anybody remember or know what the word Excelsior means? Excelsior. I may have touched on this before, but I just want to conclude before we move on with this. Excelsior. Onward and upward to greater glory. What's that? Yeah, the definition. Onward and upward to greater glory. Something better. Even Charles Darwin, whom you've heard a lot about as the one human being, along with Alfred Russel Wallace, who began to open us and show us that we humans have grown out of nature. We've evolved out of nature. We're not separate from nature. We're not apart from it, placed here with dominion over. That is the story from our religions. But science tells us we are part of something greater. We've grown out of this incredible process of evolution. And in that, Charles Darwin, Alfred Russel Wallace, but particularly Darwin, said, if we can grow, if we can evolve from lower forms of life, which is what we have done from a scientific point of view, then we are capable of evolving into something higher. If we accept that we've come from something lower and that over time we have our brain has grown, our anatomy has changed, and that we have reached a point in 2024 where we have this magnificent creation of evolution called the human brain. 100 billion neurons, all connected and sending information around. If we are able to accept that, and science is proving that more and more, then it is possible that something greater awaits us, that we will grow into something more. That's Excelsior. And I do believe that technology can help take us there. But at the same time, like any powerful tool, like the stone that we humans picked up 3 million years ago to begin to shape into weapons or new tools. We are the great tool-making species. Power also creates new responsibilities. More technology creates more complexity. More complexity creates more fragility because everything's connected. You break one thing, one part, you break another part. It's all connected. And so all of this new technology, which gives us more power, can also cause new problems for us. As William McNeill said, progress is a double-edged sword. It's the paradox, the contradiction of progress. So I do think that we are capable of doing so much more as humans. But I also worry that we don't know really how to use our tools enough yet. And we're kind of like children who have been given big guns. We just morally, spiritually, philosophically, even religiously, we're not there yet. We don't really understand yet how to work with these powerful tools that we have. And the result is, I see a lot of young people today and a lot of grown-ups who don't like to have in-person interactions anymore. When given the chance to talk to another human being, well, if they don't have their phone in their hand to default to, something's uncomfortable. It's like a cigarette. And as soon as something uncomfortable happens in a conversation, as soon as you get bored, of course, you look down at your device. You look down at your machine. You want that stimulation. You can't do that. You can't have that human interaction. And that really scares me. So I am so excited to hear from students saying, Lon, this is what I'm hearing from John and from all of you and Stephen. Lon, maybe you're wrong. We do want interaction. We do want to be with others. We do want to be talking about things. But here's the problem. I'm talking right now. What's happening? Yeah, but I'm not asking you to close your laptops. I'm not that kind of instructor. Quite the opposite. But it is interesting. Can I ask you, John, what are you like? What are you smiling at right now? It's a clip from an episode of Jimmy Kimmel Live. Okay, and is it something that's related to what we're talking about right now? Not really. Okay. Now, I'm going to stop. I only want to say thank you for sharing all of this and helping to confirm that as we humans go forwards in this experiment called human civilization, when you step back and you really start to understand the human story, as Ronald Wright has said in Short History of Progress, it's all just one huge experiment that we humans are undertaking on this planet Earth in terms of how we're going to live together in peace with our tools and powerful weapons. But listening to what you have to say, I feel a little better knowing that the human is what matters the most, not the machine. But I'm not always sure. Not always sure. There we go. The machine wins. Nico? Okay. So you're multitasking in a way. Anyway, I'm not going to belabor this. Is there anything Stephen, Brandon, remember, put in the live chat unless you've forgotten what I've asked you to do, but maybe he's forgotten. Stephen, is there anything you'd like to add to what I've just said about the fact that ultimately what you want here is interaction live with other humans?
I mean, yeah,
Anything?
that's the entire reason I chose this class. I didn't have it exactly like an idea of
Yep.
what it would be like, but I had an idea of what it would be like, and it's like sort of similar.
Okay,
I
great.
the main reason I keep coming here online, even though I'm not in person, because it would be inconvenient for me.
Sure.
The main reason why I come here is because I love like debating people.
Yeah.
I sort of debate for me sort of is like a battlefield
Yep.
where you need to
Yep.
like win.
Yep.
And so there's me with my worldview. I'm like the Catholic, guy, and then there's like a Muslim, and then
Yes.
there's like a
There's the
Hindu.
Jew, if you want,
Yeah,
although
there's
I'm
the
I'm not a
Jew,
very good one, but yeah.
and then there's like, some liberal transgender person.
Yep.
And so I love to kind of like clash with these opposing
Yeah.
worldviews. So I don't like this language that you're using of calling it a quote unquote safe space, because I don't think a debate should be
Safe.
like safe,
Yeah.
because at some point you need to abandon this like sort of this safety that you're talking about, this
Yes.
you can't hurt anybody's feelings, because you know at some point feelings are going to get hurt in a debate.
Sure. That's
But
a
yeah,
good
that's
point.
why I like this class.
That's very grown up. And in fact, the Toronto Public Library right now has a big promotional campaign on subways in Toronto saying, being learning how to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable is part of living in a very diverse world. People have different views, and that's what and you get hurt sometimes, but that's okay. Yes.
Another reason why I took this course is because the last semester I was in your humanities destiny class,
Yeah.
and that class was like my favorite of the entire semester. And
Same format, but we were talking about the future a lot. And
yeah, and that's, I guess, what interested me. And
yeah, future is a great topic, isn't it? Yeah.
future, past,
Yep.
whatever.
Yep.
That's what interests me.
That's the view. Okay. Let me move on for a second. Thank you all. And Maureen and I are making good note. We will talk about this. I do want to address a bit of the final 3 classes, some content, and then we're going to end early. Okay. But speaking of large views, past, present, and future, I want to introduce you to a word that's really important. It's called totality. What is the totality of your existence on this planet? You're connected to the past, you're in the present, and there's the future. That's my kind of convoluted way of talking about the solar eclipse on Monday. Okay. So I'd like to remind you that there's a bit of history, not as much as people might think, but we get eclipses all the time. But on Monday, around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, um, in this part of the world, if you haven't heard about it already, um, there will be a unique opportunity to see a complete, total solar eclipse. And that's unusual. It's more than just a once in a generation opportunity. It's because of the path of the moon as it's moving and going around the planet Earth, that we're going to see something quite remarkable happen on Monday afternoon. So I just wanted to let you know that this is happening. And if you can't make it to any place close to Niagara Falls, you don't want to go to Niagara Falls because it's just going to be a pandemonium. Well, it's just going to be packed with people because unusually there's going to be this combination of two natural wonders. Niagara Falls, which is one of the 7 wonders of the world, is going to have just above it or around it a moment where, actually it'll be about 2 minutes, where the 1 million or so people that are all driving in from Buffalo and New York and New Jersey and from Toronto and elsewhere, who are going to pack Niagara Falls all the way down probably to the Brock Monument, which is about 10 miles away. There's just going to be a sea of people. Yeah, so you don't want to be there to see this. But what they're going to be there to see and experience is nature in its most, I don't know how you could, what the word is, spectacular kind of. You'll see the steam from Niagara Falls if you're far away, but if you're close, you'll see the falls cascading down in the way that they do. Horseshoe Falls as well, the American Falls, but you will see that, which is a wonder on its own, and then everything's going to go dark in the afternoon. And the moon will have been moving slowly over the sun into a partial eclipse, and then it'll lock in, and there will be a total eclipse of the sun by the moon. And all you'll see is the black moon at that point with the sun's light coming around it. And if you happen to be one of the lucky few who paid hundreds and hundreds of dollars to stay in a hotel room overnight in Niagara Falls, all the hotels are booked all the way into wine country in St. Catharines and Hamilton, so don't even think of it. But you'll be looking at that, and you'll be smelling water and hearing the falls. And if anything can remind us of what is happening on this planet, and that is it. And it may be a reminder to all of us that nature's power is so much greater than human power. And here we are worried about climate change and that we're going to change the world. James Lovelock, one of our great philosophers who wrote a book called The Vanishing Face of Gaia, about Gaia is the Greek name for planet Earth. And he talked about how, humans are changing nature. But then he said, nature's going to survive. Nature's much bigger than us. It's we who are doing ourselves in. We may be evolving ourselves off the planet because we can't sustain what we've created here. And the world will go on and on and on, and there will be new creatures that will replace us who can live more in harmony with nature. Like worms, cockroaches, and mice, and birds, and others who've been here far longer than we have. We are so arrogant, believing that we have so much power over the natural world. Go and see on Monday the solar eclipse, and then tell me who you think has the most power here. I look forward to hearing what you say next Friday. Now, that's my little bit about totality, the totality of our lives, the totality of this great eclipse, the total eclipse of the sun. Before I just explain a bit about the final 3 talks, and very brief, we'll finish early. Maybe I could ask you for a handshake right now, a little bit of a promise. If you can assure me that you're going to start watching the recorded talks, at least the first parts of them, to touch base with the story, I don't need to say anything more right now. The only thing I want to talk about really is this wonderful book and an event that's coming up as well this weekend. But I really should not be in the position of reviewing the lectures that I've posted for you. I'm going to do something I haven't done at all in a classroom for many years. I'm going to throw it back at the students. Usually I will take it on myself and I will go, God, I know how busy the students are. I know how stressed they are. I better review for them everything. I better hold their hands. Ain't going to do it this time. It's your job to watch these talks. It's your job to make sure you understand this story. Okay? Stephen, is that fair?
Yep.
Okay. If Stephen says it's fair, because I know I push him a little bit, it's fair. So, finally, okay, two things. I'll wait until next week to read. I have this wonderful book I found recently. It's called Eyewitness to History. And it's a British journalist who's taken sections from books and accounts of eyewitnesses who've been part of big events in history, and he's collected them into one anthology. So, for example, he's taken the accounts that Thucydides gave, for example, the plague that afflicted Athens and that led to its defeat by Sparta, the Peloponnesian War. He has a wonderful account of an English king 600 years ago who was facing the first revolt of peasants. He has an eyewitness account of the assassination, the execution of the Russian Tsar that led to the end of the Russian Empire and the coming of the Soviet Empire of communism. He has these wonderful eyewitness accounts of history that I wanted to read to you, some of them today, and talk to you, but I'm not going to because we don't have enough time. I'm going to wait for that. But eyewitness to history. Lovely. Finally, I just want to remind you that there is an event happening this Sunday, and it's called the Repair Cafe in Toronto. And if any of you are unfamiliar with the Repair Cafe movement, you may want to go to the website and learn more about it. I only have 3 of these, so I'll give one to Nico, and I'm going to give 2 to you for your courage today. And I think we should end on that note. Courage is one of the great defining characteristics or properties of the human soul. This student has courage. What's your name again? It's Alex. The reason I forget is because, but Alex, please take that as a sign of the courage, and there's going to be a lot more coming this summer when you are taking the courses and everything. So thank you all, and if you need to reach me for anything, you know where to find me on email, or I'll be here as well for the next 45 minutes with Mayreen. If you want to talk to me one-on-one about anything, we have some discussions to do, but I will stop the YouTube live stream so that recording will be intact, but I'll leave the video conference open on in case Stephen or Brandon want to talk about something as well. Okay? So class is over.